The lights around the table start to dim, the DM cues up some epic boss music, and he throws down a beautifully painted mini on the table. A moment of both fear and excitement. Everyone around that table knows that this is a battle that's going to be one to remember. Hey everyone, Heroic Coffee here, and today we're going to be going over legendary creatures in 5th edition and what they can do that other regular monsters can't, such as legendary actions, resistances, and lair actions. We'll also be talking about how to set up such an encounter to be the climax of a particular story arc, or possibly even your whole campaign. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So what are legendary creatures? Well, they are creatures that are a step above the rest. Those primal forces that hit like a truck and are feared for their superior brute strength. Or maybe they're feared for their superior intellect, the mastermind behind an entire operation, the leader behind an entire network of spies. Usually encounters like this are built up throughout the campaign, so your players have the, what I like to call, oh crap, this is it moment. In my opinion, you want to use these encounters sparingly. If you try and do this stuff all the time, personally, I feel like those big encounters can lose some of the weight attached to them. If all the party fights is dragons, then it's not going to feel special when they get to the end of the campaign and then come face to face with the big bad dragon. Sum it up in one word: memorable. Something that your players can look back on once the campaign is over and be like, wow, we took this thing down, or that was a cool moment and we barely made it out alive. Now, legendary creatures are expected to be tough and be able to hold their own against your players. However, there's a fundamental rule when it comes to designing combat encounters, and not just in D&D either. If you outnumber the enemy, you're usually at an advantage, and if the enemy outnumbers you, you're usually at a disadvantage. It can be quite disheartening when you spend all this time and prep work on this encounter just for your players to stun lock it into oblivion and nuke the crap out of it. Luckily for us, legendary creatures have a tool set in their arsenal to deal with situations like these. It can do things that normal monsters just can't do, like acting outside of its turn or interacting with its environment in interesting ways. Legendary creatures need these to be able to pose a threat to your group of players. In my opinion, this is what sets these fights apart from the rest. They're deadly. There's a real chance of character death, and your players are going to have to think smart and bring their A game if they want to get out alive. Now, you never want to go into a fight wanting or expecting a character death, but if any creature is going to be able to, it should be these. It should be made pretty apparent to your players that death is on the table. Let's talk about legendary resistance. Most legendary creatures get 3 legendary resistances per battle. What this means is if a creature fails a saving throw, it can just choose to outright pass it. This prevents your legendary creature from being the target of really nasty spells like Feeble Mind straight out of the gate, and allows combat to at least last more than a round or 2 before your players start popping off with their crazy spells. Now on paper, this seems like a great thing, right? But it's not without its drawbacks. Often players can feel quite disappointed when essentially they waste a really high level spell slot, and it can even lead to some case of metagaming. If you're a player and you know that this creature has legendary resistances, you might knowingly try to hold back until it's wasted those and then pull out the big guns. I'm not a really big fan of this, and I feel like it takes you out of the vibe of the table. Next up, we have legendary actions. These are special actions that the legendary creature can use at the end of any other creature's turns. These legendary actions are refreshed at the start of every combat round. This gives a creature a lot more than it can do to threaten the players, especially if there's no minions involved. However, the creature can't use legendary actions while incapacitated or unable to take actions in any way. If the creature is surprised, then it also doesn't get to use the legendary actions until after the first round of combat. Now, an interesting thing about legendary actions is that some of them actually cost more than others. For example, let's say you have a pool of 3 legendary actions. While one ability might only cost 1 legendary action, while another stronger ability might cost all 3 of your legendary actions. A helpful tip if you're running a game with a lot of players, say A, is to simply give your boss monster more minions like we said before, having the advantage numbers wise, or you can give your legendary creature more legendary actions. If I was running an 8-player game, I would highly consider giving them 7, maybe 8 legendary actions per combat round, maybe a little less if they also had minions too, but in that sort of in that sort of vein. Next up is Lair Actions, and these are actions that I like to think of almost like the lair itself can take to either aid the monster or hinder the party in some way. Now, not all creatures have Lair Actions, and when they do, these only work when the player characters are invading the creature's home. If a creature has Lair Actions, then it can harness the magic located within the lair. On initiative count 20, losing all initiative ties, it can use one of the Lair Action options. It can't do so while incapacitated or otherwise unable to take actions. If surprised, it can't use one until after its first turn in combat. Lair Actions really make your battles and arguably your world really come to life. You can have a lot of fun with Lair Actions. So, with all this information, how can we use this to set up a great encounter? Well, first off, you need to set this encounter up. Foreshadowing this at sessions prior is a great way to get the desired effect from what you want from your players. Secondly, it needs to be tough. Death needs to be on the table. Again, no one has to die, and don't force it, but the players have to feel that the stakes are high and that it is a possibility if they make dumb decisions. Also, balance your encounter. Don't just have one boss on its own. Have little minions there, mix it up, distract the players. Also consider giving the boss more legendary actions if you're playing with a really large group. And finally, remember that throughout all this, the main goal is to just have a fun fight. An easy way to do this, in my opinion, is to have objectives rather than just kill all bad guys. Maybe you need to protect the townsfolk while fighting them, or maybe one of you needs to distract the boss and then the other one finds the Lich's phylactery or something. Get weird and wacky with it. I've often found that players enjoy it more if it's not just kill all enemies and, you know, there's something else to do. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Give this a like if it helped you out, and make sure to subscribe. Click here to watch a video going over everything you need to know about what a player can do on their turn. Actions, bonus actions, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next vid. Bye, guys.